All right, joining us now with military analysis, former assistant to the president, retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. General, obviously the blockade is working. The blockade, however, takes a little bit more time. Scott Bessent says he thinks it's a matter of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when they will have to cap their oil wells, which means that their future production will likely be reduced by as much as 50%. They're already losing $400–500 million a day. How much longer can they hold out, or is it time for the president now to do blockade plus the military action?
Yeah, Sean, thanks for having me. Look, I think what we're doing right now, and first of all, the president has been brilliant in this and what he has done. He's the first president out of 8 presidents that's done anything. But look, we're going through sequencing right now. And I'm one of those guys, and I've said it on your program as well, that I think we need to go further. There's 3 things I think we should do. Number 1 is I do believe there are strategic targets we can take by land. We don't have to go downtown Tehran, but we can take those and just eliminate their ability economically to continue to operate. Kellogg Island, the islands in the Strait of Hormuz as well. And also, I'd say go after the Revolutionary Guards. You know, what they're going through is what they call the mosaic defense. And what they've done is they de-aggregated and they've split apart all their Revolutionary Guards to 31 different districts. Why is that important? Because you want to keep attacking the Revolutionary Guards. Why? Because they control the Basij. What's the Basij do? They're the paramilitary group that keeps the population under control. So you break that command and control link you've got with them. And the third is on negotiations. I would say we're not going to negotiate. We're done. We're just going to keep going to this till we finish it. You may apply maximum pressure to it, and you make sure that they pay a price that they cannot handle. Basically, you reach on command and control, you get to a position where their command and control is already fractured even more.
General, are you talking about, when you mention Kellogg Island, are you talking about taking it, or are you talking about bombing it out?
No, I'm talking about taking it, Sean. I'm saying let's just take some things that they cannot give back. We become the arbiter. We become the global oil power. And the president actually said this earlier on a Guardian magazine over two decades ago, where he said we're going to take the oil. He talked about that when we were in Iraq. Let's take their oil. We now control it. We don't just depend on a blockade, but we add to the blockade. It's sort of blockade plus. And you want to do that plus the military operations. Look, I don't think an air campaign by itself will do much. I was in the first Gulf War. We watched an air campaign go on for 38 days. And finally, we had to cross the berm, go across, get up to the Euphrates River. And finally, when we put troops on the ground and put their regime at risk, they said, okay, we're done, we're finished, we'll come to the negotiation table. We didn't ask them to do it. We just sort of, this is what we're going to do. And they came to us. And I think that's where we want to go. These guys are thugs. And we have to believe that. And they're not going to be true to their word. I don't trust them at all. And as long as you've got a theocratic government in charge, a religious government in charge, then we're going to continue to have problems. The president has been brilliant in what he has done. Let's just add to it.
I like the idea of taking out the IRGC because I think that's the more extreme element in the country, the more hardline element in the country. I like that idea. I'd like to see the Iranian people get armed and hopefully they can stand up for themselves and fight for their own freedom. But if we talk about taking Kellogg Island, isn't that predicated on the idea that we will have an extended presence in the area?
No, I don't think you have to. You can take the island and just kind of hold it till we get a decent government in charge. And I think as long as you start to eradicate the Revolutionary Guards, that's going to happen. We talked about this last time, of arming the Iranian people or supporting the Iranian people. They're going to rise up. Remember, the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, is not the army. And you're going to put them in conflict with one against the other. And let the people decide what they're going to do. When they realize they've got strong support from the United States and others, I think they'll rise up. But they've already lost more people in uprisings against the revolutionary government than we lost in the Korean War. They're willing to do it. I think they can do it. They just need to know that we can support them and be absolutely serious about it. It's a little bit of a risk, sure it is, but I think we can handle that.
All right, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, thank you for being with us. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.